KTRS. Back in December of this year, according to government data, heroin deaths in America now outpace gun homicides. Think about that for a second. More people in this country die of a heroin overdose than die at the hands of guns. Not to mention how many people are overdosed and then go back to doing what they're doing. Some of the people who are on the front lines of this epidemic here in the country are friends of the show, and they're also sponsors of the show. John Stuckey is with us. John, you are a former heroin addict, and you've been on the show before. Very open and honest about your path. You are now in charge of the Archway Institute. Welcome back to Big 550 KTRS.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How is your recovery going?
It's going good. Going a little over 4 years now off of opiates, and basically just trying to do my part to give back. Yeah.
Also with us here is Sunil Menzies, who helps run ARCA and is the son of Percy Menzies, who we were just saying there's a special place in heaven for your dad. Coming up, tell us about this Archway charity event.
Yeah, so we're doing a fundraiser March 9th. It's going to be down at the Luina Center, the Labor Union Event Center. It's going to be 6:30 to 9:30. And we're looking for people to come out, support the cause, help us, get some education and awareness out there, and then try to raise funds to try to, eliminate some of these barriers people have to getting into treatment.
One of the things that is the biggest issue is oftentimes, and Sunil, you can talk about this, it's cheaper to get high on heroin than it is to go get rehab.
Totally. I mean, McGraw, we can go... John, you would know better than me from running, but you can get a button of heroin, which is what they kind of call it, a capsule or a button, for less than we could go get a beer at the local pub. So, yeah, in terms of the epidemic kind of being fueled, price and availability are the big things. Availability is higher than it's ever been.
Right. And unlike alcohol or maybe some other drugs, you can't just go cold turkey, can you? Or can you?
The physical symptoms are tough, and so when you need something to feel normal, you naturally won't give it up. And so they say that coming off of opiates without medications is like the flu times 10. You get sick. And so what the Archway Institute is in, and what really the magic of the Archway Institute is, the Stuckey family came together recognizing the biggest barrier to treatment still continues to be financial assistance.
Right.
Patients and families, the disease financially destroys patients and families. And despite the changes in healthcare and whatnot, the biggest barrier still continues to be money. And the Archway Institute has come together, behind kind of the leadership of the Stuckey family to bring awareness about the problem. We were talking the other day at lunch, McGraw, someone's got to take the front lines of raising hell about this.
Right.
We've got hundreds, and we're losing a generation of people our age. And the Archway Institute has taken that challenge on, both in St. Louis and throughout the country, and has also taken on the challenge to say that we're going to fund those. We're going to attempt to fund those who are in need of help.
John Stuckey, you're sort of a quiet kid. You never thought you'd be the spokesman for this. But I've talked to your parents. I've talked to you. There's a stigma to saying you're a heroin addict, especially when you're a young, vibrant kid from a very upper middle class, maybe upper, top tier family. You don't talk about heroin addiction, which is half the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people, dying in their basements. It's because they're not coming out and talking about it. The families, are too ashamed to come out and discuss it with others. Most referrals that we get, I mean, we go to fundraisers and we go out to the community and we do these events, and no one publicly is talking about it, but then all of a sudden, as soon as the event's over, we start getting text messages, we start getting phone calls, we start getting emails, and it's one of the reasons why my dad, really got involved with this, was because it was just me, right? And it was he was supporting me through my recovery, and pretty much as we went out and we did a couple radio interviews and things like that to discuss this issue, and through that he started getting all these phone calls from longtime friends that he had known for 30 plus years, that their kids that they had thought had died through surgery or other things had really ended up it was alcohol and drugs.
So the parents were lying to their friends.
Correct.
How their sons and daughters died because of the stigma of heroin.
Correct.
And Donna Whiteley, you are a counselor.
Licensed
Yeah,
counselor.
professional. Yes. And you see children, young people from all walks of life.
I do. And I find the same thing as John does with families. And that's one of the things about Archway. They do the financial thing. They step up. They're not just talking about it, but also they show up. They show up in the emergency rooms. They show up in the ICU units when people are with their loved ones at the last minute. Through all of that, a lot of the people that are now involved with Archway are involved because Archway showed up at that time when you are just totally devoid of any kind of emotion, of any kind of energy, of any kind of strength. Archway shows it's a process, it's work, recovery's work, it's a process, it's worth it, and it's possible. And even if it's not possible for my loved one, we're going to save somebody.
Did you lose a loved one to heroin?
I actually, that's a very good point. My loved one didn't die, but I lost my loved one to heroin.
Oh.
In the process now, in jail, actually. Went through recovery, did great, stopped working the program, stopped working, and now he's in jail.
Yeah.
In some pretty serious charges.
John Stuckey, who runs Archway, you've said 4 years of your recovery still going strong. How hard is it to work in the field and be a recovering addict?
I mean, for me, it's one of the commitments I've made to my family and the people around me. I stay involved in my own personal recovery. I still continue to.
Are you still on the shots?
Yeah,
the Vivitrol?
I still take my shot. That's something I feel is vital. I see too many people. This disease is treated very acutely. They say it's a lifelong disease. I respect my disease and I'm going to treat it with such respect. So, I protect myself by continuing to take the medications to protect the possibility of me going back out or relapsing or overdosing.
Sunil, he talks about it like he has diabetes. And he has to take his medicine so he doesn't get his diabetes.
So we've talked about this for years, and it goes back to Donna's point. Archway shows up. John practices what he preaches, that it's not an acute... This disease is not about using a drug. It is because it freaks people out, and it's what kills you, and it's what makes you sick. This disease is about people being able to say, I'm emotionally healthy. I've experienced what the rest of us call happiness. That's what this is about. And so John understands that being emotionally healthy is a battle for all of us on a daily basis. And in an effort to make sure that he puts a gap between himself and this drug that scares the hell out of everyone, he continues to practice what he preaches, that this is a long-term chronic illness, just like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, or those types of things.
It's March 9th. We'll tell you where to get tickets here in a second to help with the Archway Institute. But Sunil, how bad of a problem is it? I mentioned there are more people dying of heroin than gun deaths, which is a marker which is would have been unheard of 5 years ago. How bad is the heroin epidemic here in the St. Louis metropolitan area?
It's the worst it's ever been. Last year they're saying some 437 reported deaths, right? That's reported deaths. We saw 1 or 2 potential cases of H1N1s, however many years ago it was, and the entire community shut down. But the overdose, and it's St. Louis is one of the main areas because of this 44 corridor. But places like where the Stokes are from, Ohio, it's the Wild Wild West out there. It's a total mess. But St. Louis, this is one of the worst epidemics we've seen that now has broken down every barrier that we think. Whether we're going down to East St. Louis or you're going to the most influential families.
So there's not a zip code that isn't affected by this?
No, and it's driven by price and availability. It's driven by the idea that we could go, I'm sure, half a mile from here, John, in any direction, and within a few minutes we could probably pick it up.
Would you agree with that, John?
Yeah, it's at every corner, but I think one of the things that isn't so much discussed publicly, it's one, the individual, but two, the ripple effect that it has through society. Loss of work, incarceration, the taxpayers, theft. Personal property, the city's property. Things, the ripple effect that addiction has is bigger than just the individual.
John Stuckey, along with Sunil. The Archway Foundation event is Thursday, March 9th. For more information, thearchwayinstitute.org, and they can always call ARCA to find out more, right?
Sure.
Anything else we need to know?
For the dinner, you can go to www.thearchwayinstitute to find information out about the dinner, how to register, or just if you're looking for more information or resources.
Thearchwayinstitute.org. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
8:40.